Hello, I'm Dr. David Rosensweet, and we're with I Wonder Doctor, and we're live. And at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time every Thursday, we're going to address any medical questions you have, either by email or call in. And at 2 o'clock every Thursday, we're going to have a segment on answering your questions about your emotions, your mind, and your life, because stress and how you respond to it can be such a major healer if we get it right, if you acquire the information, tools, and support to improve into where you become excellent at how you respond to the ups and downs of the people in your life, to your own internal ups and downs, and you move more peacefully and more present in the moment in your life. So this is what this time is about together. And I'd like to begin by telling you what my early life as a physician was. I was in New Mexico. I was delivering babies at home. I opened up an office in our house. I wanted to go back to the traditional way that our ancestors practiced medicine. Oh my goodness, it was a lovely situation. And the population I was working with, they didn't have much money. In delivering babies, I charged $150 for the whole pregnancy, labor, and delivery. So we were not cash flow rich. And over the course of the next year or two, I started also seeing that I had a lot of internal stress and that was having an impact on my marriage. And I was functioning really well as a doctor and of course to most people that I encountered. But when it came to up close and personal, I started realizing that I was a man who had challenges in relationship. And they got plenty disturbing to me internally, and I started developing the hope, the wish that can anyone help me with this? And we weren't making hardly any money. We were just living hand to mouth, even though I was loving what I was doing. And as I looked out for the resources, I started realizing that I wanted to go to therapists. There was someone in California, we were living in New Mexico, that wrote a book, and I read it. And this was the same therapy that John Lennon was doing at the time, as the early 1970s. And with this therapist, with this psychiatrist, and I thought, oh boy, this is the answer for me. This technique sounds exactly like what I need. But I very quickly hit the wall of, I can't afford this. I can't even afford to go to California, let alone what it might cost to see the therapist. And I certainly couldn't do it in an ongoing way. And it was very disappointing to me. And then also, even if I wanted to see someone locally, I didn't necessarily have these funds to go out and be able to get the help I needed. And the reason I'm telling you this is this world has changed dramatically. Because now, with the internet, we have access to some of the greatest teachers on earth. And I myself continue to tap into these resources. Like, just as an extreme example, when I've got some technical issue, like how to repair my toilet, what do? I go to YouTube, and how do you repair the toilet? And 300 things come up, and of course, most of them are pretty clear and simple. Well, there are people who have devoted their life and their careers and have a special gift around what do you need to know about your emotions, your mind, stress. Often these things, especially when you have anxiety and depression, they feel so mysterious and so untouchable and so deep. Of course, this is some of the work that I do with people, and when I first encounter them, they feel the words they use is hopeless, powerless, seems overwhelming. Well, the great news is there's a wonderful body of knowledge out there. You can access it for free on the internet. You can get the base camp of your education about your emotions, about your mind, about your life, about being present, about reacting and being so much more beneficial to yourself and in relationship to others, and as a worker, as an entrepreneur, to have the communication skills, to have the personal presence that is effective. And here's what you need, basically. You need something called commitment. You get committed to healing your own emotions, mind, and life, and you'll get there. In your physical body, you'll get there. What commitment is whatever it takes to get the job done. You encounter commitment every day. When I call up an IT person because we have to straighten out our communication system, or I have to work out a glitch in my computer, there's two kinds of different types of people you can encounter. And one is someone who's a little grouchy. You can tell that you're taking, they're a little disinterested, and you don't encounter that as much these days. And at the other end of the spectrum, you encounter someone who is present, who is kind, who really cares about working with you. And oh my God, that just goes so far. So some of you who are entering the job market, if all you have to do is be beneficial, all you have to do is pay attention to people and follow the golden rule, do unto your client or your customer as they would like to have done unto themselves, not your concept of how you think you should treat them. All you have to do is be committed. You're committed, you'll rise in your business, in your company, it'll rise to success. Commitment. And commitment in the world of healing your emotions, your mind, and your life is the ticket. You'll get there. But today I wanted to mention some of the resources that can give you the basic knowledge and information. I Wonder Doctor, our whole anxiety and depression series, we have lots of tools there. But I want to talk about 3 of so many online resources. One of them is Tara Brach, B-R-A-C-H, PhD. Every week she gives a new talk. She's got archives of talks. This is one of the most knowledgeable and compassionate and great resources that I've ever encountered, and she's right there on your computer screen. A second one is Eckhart Tolle. Oprah discovered and made Eckhart prominent. He's written a book called The Power of Now, The New Earth, in which he's really giving you some basics around what it takes to heal your uncomfortable emotions and what it takes to be present. And there's Jon Kabat-Zinn, K-A-B-O-T-Z-I-N-N, is another resource. And then there's another wonderful PhD, Rick Hanson. All of these folks have websites. That's Tara Brach, she's a psychologist, PhD. There's Eckhart Tolle, there's Rick Hanson, and there's Jon Kabat-Zinn. They've written books, they got endless amounts of knowledge on the internet. So get your basic information about tools that you can integrate into your life right now for free. It's highly likely, if you're committed to your own emotional healing, that you're going to get inspired by one of these folks, and there's many, many others. It's so rich resources out there. I would never want to suggest that it could take the place of a therapist or talking to friends or family. Oh my God, these are amazing resources. Therapists have done so much good for so many people. And even public resources of therapists are there. These are devoted people for the most part who have had to do their own work to climb out of their own challenges in so many cases and can help you. So sometimes when you're deeply stressed, when your relationships, your job just seems overwhelming, and raising your kids, whatever it is, just seems you've got an illness, it just seems the emotional and the mental part just seems so impossible. I tell you, many people have been there. I was there at one time in my life, in my early 30s, that I was alluding to. You can find your way out. It seems when you're in the midst of it like, oh my God, this is so awful. It's so harsh. People don't understand how bad it is. Millions of people know exactly where you are. And the great news is even if you're there, in the worst of the worst, I promise you, you decide, I'm going to heal myself. You will find the resources. They'll come to you very often. Go on the journey. It's so worth it. And what happens? If you are successful at this, and you will be if you are committed to it and you keep taking the steps one molecule at a time, you're going to find out happiness. You're going to find out peace and joy, and you're going to learn how to accept all parts of yourself. So the emotions, mind, and life, take the journey. It's the great work, and it's so rewarding because then you gain access to the moments. And there is so much beauty, especially as you learn how to accept the parts of yourself that are sad, that do feel afraid from time to time, that do feel powerless. You then gain access to everybody else because you can accept them because you learned how to accept yourself. Then you gain access to the beauty. because you're present in the moment, because it's fine to be in the moment. You're not trying to rehash the past. You're not worrying about the future and where you wish you would be. You're right there in the moment. And oh my goodness, this planet is so rich and so beautiful, with so much resources and so much beauty externally and internally. Take the journey, folks. And so, today, I'm here to answer any questions. If you have any questions, please call in at 888-502-8886. And this is such a common area that we get in medicine. This is why we're devoting an hour to it. Because in the bottom line around any illness that anyone has, and it's often the illness, or it's often a relationship collapse, or it's also a financial collapse, where people are saying, ooh, I think the world is stopping for me. I think I want to find out why things have gotten this ill, this awful, this challenging. And it takes them, it stops the world for them. And they then start burrowing into what caused all this? What's going on inside of me? So that's another thing that I want to encourage you to do. And again, the call-in number is 888-502-8886. And I want to encourage you right where you are. That, you know, so often people find it so mysterious to feel depressed, to feel anxious, and they find it so internally challenging. This seems like this might be a caller.
Hello.
Oh, hello.
Oh, hi. Hi, my name is Mary, and I wanted to ask a question.
Sure, Mary.
Right.
Sure. Glad you called in. Tell us what's going on.
Hi. So, my question is sort of around, you know, sort of the stance between physical healing and the emotional side of things. And I happen to have experiences and really believe that the emotional side of things is such a big part of the physical healing. And then recently, I've been having this question because currently right now I have a place on my, close to my forehead that's basal cell skin cancer.
Yeah.
And I'm sort of torn because I just sort of have the sense that I don't, some part of me thinks that it's not really addressing the underlying cause. I just go and get this cut out, for example, like if I go and have Mohs surgery or something like that, and there's a part of me that wants to address it on a deeper level. And I can feel that I'm even, I don't know, like I feel like I want to work with it in a way that before I almost get it cut out, because I sometimes have the sense that if I just go and get something like this cut out, then am I really addressing the issue? Am I really addressing the reason why it's here? And I feel like I want to do that before I have something like that. But then it's the other part of me that's in question is, in what order does that need to happen? You know, and yeah, I'm just sort of, I don't want to be somehow not listening and not doing what, you know, is appropriate when you have something like cancer come up. I know I'm not trying to be in denial, and yet at the same time, I do want to respond thoughtfully and not sort of, and I'm aware of not really wanting to take too many action steps out of fear before really working with it.
Well, this is an excellent question coming directly from you, and it's so relevant to so many people. And if I have this correct, you are uncomfortable that you would develop a basal cell cancer. You're thinking that it isn't a simple matter of just go cut it out surgically and that's going to take care of the causes. And you want to have the full integrity of also addressing the causes. Do I have that right? And
Yes, yes, yes,
you
definitely.
want to respect and respond to the possible significance of having an actual basal cell cancer occur, and you want to use that the world stopping for you, so to speak. It really caught your attention to go on and address the causes. Well, here's what I recommend. Bravo. From my perspective, you are doing the proper thinking about this. Now, the only suggestion I would make is your mind, you see how important it is to address the causes. Bravo. Let that be the inspiration. And then as far as handling the physicality, I would say do that. I want to give you my best shot, because you don't need the continual presence of the basal cell cancer to be your only prime motivator. The message has come through, and there's obviously something that caused that. And I understand the strategy of, well, if I keep the cancer there, I'm sure going to be motivated. And yet, I'd recommend this, that number one, basal cell cancer is not the worst of the cancers by any means. And dermatologists, oh my goodness, they do such a fabulous job with this. And in the world of any illness, including basal cell cancer of the skin, the earlier the actual physical treatment takes place, the easier it is to do. So my recommendation would be twofold. Number one, get thee to a dermatologist that you trust, because this is their bread and butter. This is their expertise. They know how to do it. I had a basal cell cancer appear on my forehead, and I know a great dermatologist, and he took it out, and I was very grateful he did. It didn't stop my very vigorous process to uncover all the different things that can undermine my health. And so I would just use the basal cell cancer as a clue. Take care of it and deepen your devotion and your commitment to the causes, because they'll be worked out over time. It turns out the causes for illness, they run silent, run deep very often. But let's, just for a possibility, right now on the air here, on the telephone, I'd like to approach the causes in a specific way. Because what are the causes going to come down to? They're going to come down to issues of nutrition, issues of toxicity, in this case issues of sun exposure, issues of immune system, all the things that can affect the immune system, and issues of stress. And what affects the immune system? Well, the stress things, the emotional part, there's always a component of this. So just as a possibility, while you're on the telephone right now, if this feels safe to you, close your eyes, and to the best of your ability, take your attention to the basal cell cancer. Use your mind, your imagination, your emotions to try and focus in internally on the basal cell cancer. Does this feel safe for you to do, Mary?
Mm-hmm.
Good. So you just, and I'm going to pause, I'm going to go silent here for just a moment or two. You focus your attention with your eyes closed. I ask you to close your eyes so you can focus your attention internally on the basal cell cancer. And with your focus and your attention on that skin site as best as you can be, try and identify if you have any thoughts or emotions that's associated with that focus. For example, what do you feel when you're putting your attention on that basal cell cancer? It's challenging. How often are we asked, well, what do you feel? And earlier, what I was about to say, that any of you at home, these are the kind of personal inspection tools that you can have. If you've got something going on, put your focus towards it. Put your attention in it. You'll always find thoughts and feelings, for one thing, associated with it. You may even find physical pain. So, Mary, when you put your attention, have you been able to identify any emotional feelings?
Well, it seems seems like fear would probably
Trust it.
definitely
Trust
be
it.
obvious.
So when you put your attention on the basal cell cancer on your own body, you feel fear. Do your very best in this moment to just breathe and feel the fear. Notice what I'm not saying to you. I'm not saying heal the fear. I'm not saying change the fear. What I'm actually saying is get closer to the fear. Have the intention of feeling all the fear that is there present in the moment. You're just, the tool, the muscle to build is to feel it, to feel whatever is there, and to accept it. Allow the feeling to be exactly what it is. In this case, fear, at least it's beginning with fear. So breathing and feeling. And what do you feel right now?
I don't really have any new words. I feel sort of mild, uncomfortable.
Good.
Settling in with my
Good.
fear.
Excellent. So this is, I just asked, you feel mild, the mild uncomfortableness of what fear is. Did I get that right? Or you're feeling the fear?
I mean, I would describe it as a little bit nauseous.
Ah, trust that. Whatever comes up in the moment, trust the nausea. And breathe and feel the nausea. The basic tool is becoming conscious and aware on every level, physical, emotional, mental, of exactly what's going on in the moment, in this case related to the basal cell cancer. And as you feel the nausea, we are multidimensional. We exist on a physical level, emotional level, we have our mental thoughts, and even more. As you feel the nausea, what emotion is associated with nausea?
Oh, I'm not really having an
Can you,
emotion. I almost feel more of the-
can you feel the nausea?
I almost feel like I feel the nausea sort of dissipating as I'm feeling it more.
That's interesting. That often will happen. Paying attention and accepting whatever's going on is often the very thing that needs. But I'm going to go silent again. You just breathe. You just refocus on the word basal cell cancer, the experience of having basal cell cancer, of knowing it. It's probably a prominent, recurring thought throughout your days, I would guess. Oh my goodness, I have basal cell cancer. What is this? But as you just, again, you're trying to develop a muscle called I'm focusing in, I'm going in. So thinking of the word basal cell cancer, try and identify any thoughts you have, or any feelings you have, or any physical feelings you have, any emotions you have. What do you feel?
Well, what it sort of brings up is just like it feels like a fear around like a lack of control, and you know, this whole way that I've brought it about, and that it's sort of moving through me is this sort of fear of doing the right thing, fear of doing the wrong thing. You know, when things come up, and just sort of knowing how we don't have that much control.
Trust that. This is the inspection that's leading you into what the truth is to you. When you feel like you don't have much control, is there an emotion that you have associated with that? The feeling of being out of control is a very important concept. Oh yeah, and with that concept, what emotion is associated with that?
Now I'm pretty sadness feels like it's
Trust,
behind that.
trust that. Breathe and feel that sadness. I'm out of control. I don't have control, and I feel sad. Is there any feeling of feeling powerless or hopeless along with that sadness?
I mean, those words don't particularly
Okay.
sound
Just the sadness. You stay with the sadness. That's what's real for you, or whatever is there. Emotions, emotion, energy and motion. As you start to feel emotions, they can change. They will change. It's energy and motion. I want you to try, while you're developing and enhancing your skill to feel exactly what's going on inside of you, what thoughts, what emotions, what physical sensations. I want you to try this. I want you to pretend that you are the basal cell cancer. And I want you to start talking to Mary. And basal cell cancer, what do you have to say to Mary? See if you can become the voice of the basal cell cancer.
I mean, without much thinking, the first thing that comes to my mind is that you don't have control and it's okay.
Great. So you're the voice of the basal cell cancer, and say it again as if you are the basal cell cancer and you are talking to Mary. What do you have to say to Mary, basal cell cancer?
That you don't have control and that is okay.
Okay. Now, I want you to do another pretend. I want you to be Mary. You've just heard a communication from the basal cell cancer, and the basal cell cancer said to you, you don't have control, and that's okay. What do you feel, Mary? First assess what you feel. What do you feel about that communication? I'll pretend I'm the basal cell cancer. What I have to say to you, Mary, is you don't have control, and that's okay. What do you feel about that, Mary? Respond to the basal cell cancer.
I don't really have words, but it does just sort of seem like almost just like the sense of like I need to come to love that or something. I need to come to be friendly with that is what my mind comes up with. And that's there for me to get.
And can you and when you have those words that you said came from your mind, how does that feel to you as Mary? Being Mary, how does that feel to you? You need to come to love the basal cell cancer and that you don't have control. How does that feel to you?
Scary.
Excellent. Excellent. I say excellent because being able to become a good accessor of what we truly feel, not what our thoughts tell us we should feel. And there is a prevailing opinion out there is we should feel good and love everything and everybody no matter what it is. And of course I've even spoke about versions of that. Ultimately that's true, but we have to be authentic. It's what does our heart, what does our soul really feel about it? Because in order to accept the acceptance that really matter, it's not a concept that we tell ourselves. We should be good to everybody, we should be beneficial, we should accept everything, even a basal cell cancer. Accepting that, if it's just a thought, if it's just a theory, if it's just a philosophy, we got to go deeper than that. And what does my heart, what does my soul really feel? And what I just heard, you tell me if I'm wrong, is that when you really inspected that, you went underneath what you were supposed to do, the good person you were supposed to be, you felt fear. And just as one way to approach things, what I respect is the deep stuff, the most. What's truly authentic. And because it's what's truly authentic that's going to help us develop the unconditional love. So, just breathing and feeling. Breathing and feeling. What do you feel right now?
Well, I'm sort of, I guess, tying in your answer. I might be exiting the depths of feeling realm, but I'm sort of feeling a little bit relieved in that. I think before, and when I was asking this question, it was like, oh boy, do I need to really learn how to eliminate all fear from me before I can address this basal cell. And the way that this has sort of gone is, I think it's just, I guess I'm just feeling a little bit more okay with the fact that there's fear there, and that I don't have to let that be in the way between interfacing with it, and that's just a great place to come into contact with it really as the messenger that it has been.
Oh, just as an opinion, you're on it. You're into it. And if I may comment about a few aspects of it, that true relief always is the indicator to me that I did the right thing. And if I could just back up and describe what I saw there, is properly so, you had the desire to deal with the causes of the basal cell rather than just cut it out and be able to, quote, forget about it. And as you started to use a technique, for example, it was just a technique, I had you pretend you were the basal cell said to you, I'm here and you just got to accept me. And even your own mind said, yeah, I guess so, but what you were actually feeling was frightened. When what I'm suggesting is, you went beyond the words of, I'm a basal cell cancer and you just accept me, and you're helpless to do anything about it. You went beyond the words into what you authentically felt. And you felt fear. If I'm interpreting this right, you interrupt me at any point here that it doesn't make sense to you. You felt fear. And why? And you felt nausea. And you know, it's interesting. Classically, in those who have studied the mind and the body and the relationship of symptoms to emotions, nausea is usually fear. That's what nausea is about. It's the physical aspect of fear. And when someone feels really nauseated, I mean, I've told the story of someone who felt supremely nauseated, and I asked her to feel the nausea, and I said, and then tell me what emotionally you feel, and she felt fear, and once she felt the fear, which was at the bottom of everything, and she allowed the fear to be what it is. She didn't try and heal the fear. She didn't try and, quote, heal all fear. She didn't try and rise up and have a positive thought to get rid of the fear. No. She just felt and accepted the fear itself, just like happened with you. You felt some relief. It's that whole medical concept, so to speak, medical concept, the truth will set you free. When we touch the truth, the deepest truths within us, not what we're supposed to think, not the enlightened or fancy ideas we're supposed to have, but when we touch what we truly feel, that's the beginning point. The truth will help us move forward. It applies to so many areas of medicine. And what, in my experience, what you did is you started to increasing your skill at being able to identify the truth underneath the sentences, underneath what you were supposed to do. And the truth in this case was a feeling you had, feeling afraid, and you felt it, and you let it be what it is. And then lo and behold, you felt some relief. It's this particular skill, and there's many, many skills that are needed for us to heal entirely, that is such a core, fundamental one. And as I described it, does this feel accurate to you, Mary?
Yeah, it's very accurate. Thank you.
And the big surprise is every human being I've ever met, including myself, and I have met myself, as we start to open up to what's underneath some of our surfaces, we discover a rather substantial amount of fear, sadness, anger, shame, guilt, etc. You've heard me say this list before, and it's all valid, and it's been repressed. It's been judged. We shouldn't be afraid. We should overcome our fears. The only fear we have is to fear itself. All these things that have been said about being afraid. You should be strong in the face of fear. They don't turn out to be valid. Like the basal cell saying to you, you're out of control and there's nothing you can do about it. Well, we should accept that. No, I think your being didn't accept that. It didn't feel good, it felt scary. But ooh, when you get down to the level of what you're authentically feeling, and fear is right down there. There's nothing underneath fear as far as unbeneficial feelings. There can be a lot of it. There's nothing underneath anger or sadness or hopelessness or shame or guilt. There's nothing underneath there. And as one part of your healing process, if you can just pause and feel it and learn to give it what it needs, that part of yourself that does feel hopeless. It's not just yourself, it's all of us. There's a part of us that feels powerless, that we don't have control. And that part does not feel safe. It does not feel okay. We feel frightened. So if you get down to the bottom and you feel the fear, that's where life can begin. That's where healing begins. So as people start to uncover and develop the skill of feeling what they're honestly feeling, not what they're supposed to be feeling, not what they're supposed to be doing with their feelings, there's a quantity issue. You can discover, oh my goodness, this may not be the only time. So I think if this is part of the healing process related to the development of immune system repression, repression in general, development of aberrant cells, and basal cell is one of the kindest, gentlest of these that exist out there. I know it's a funny thing to say, but you catch a basal cell earlier and you're in good shape. So I wouldn't try and solve all the emotions, all the learning you have to do, all the skills you have to develop and implement. I'd say one key to the highway you might have uncovered right here, to uncover the part of yourself that feels out of control and what you truly feel when you feel out of control, which is fear. And you learn to be the safe space, the acceptor of your own fear. I'm going to raise the possibility that one of the elements that the basal cell is there as a result of is the ability to access your deepest emotions, including any fear, hopelessness, out of control that you feel, and become the acceptor of it. Which means you allow the energy to be exactly what it is. And my observation is that's what you did. You got to the fear, you felt the fear, and lo and behold, the next thing you felt was some relief. Not that this is everything that relates to health or healing, but it's an important skill to develop, and you're progressing along the way of being able to access your deepest fears, your deepest sense of powerlessness, of hopelessness, because they're all there. And if you do that, you're not going to be trying to repress anything, because you won't be trying to judge anything. I shouldn't feel out of control. I shouldn't feel fear. You won't be doing any of that stuff. You won't be doing any repression because you're willing to accept fear, sadness, anger. There's nothing underneath it. And what that does is that opens up your whole being. That opens up your whole life. Because you're willing to accept yourself and you're developing that muscle. And oh my, that gives you access to whatever is going on in yourself in the moment. Not what should I do about the basal cell? Should I do this? Should I not do this? These endless internal discussions that are just sort of nuts making. I don't know if that's been going on with you, but it could be. And it gives you access to the fullness of yourself, and you'll wind up having the basal cell sending you internally to do what healing and accepting you have to do. And it's a piece of work. It's the great work. But once you start developing the skill and you just go deeper and deeper and deeper, oh, guess what you eventually get to meet up with? The true joy, the true peace, the living, the true connection to the divine that is so rich. People don't often gain conscious access to that because they're so busy repressing and judging what's actually going on in them. You shouldn't be afraid. The only thing to fear is that you have fear of the spirit itself. So anyway, Mary, thank you. But I've spoken a lot. I've done a lot of words. I want to see if there's anything that you'd like to say in this moment.
Well, just thank you so much for this call and time. And the only thing that sort of seems relevant as well for this call is just saying how I think me and a lot of the, I think of how I was raised and things like that, and how there's such a fear of that, like, once we open this door, the feeling that, like, oh God, the floodgates are going to open and we're just going to be
and you know what?
Lost in that
and
forever.
You know what? It's accurate. The human race in general, and as every individual, we've done so much repressing that there is a quantity issue in there. Yet, as you embark upon, I do want to accept the deepest parts of myself, it will be delivered up to you in a workable manner, day after day, and you can do it in the course of living your life. And as you develop the muscle and the skill, you won't mind it coming up. So, Mary, thank you for asking that question, and I think you're on the right track to develop the ability to feel and accept everything is in there, even the stuff that might be beyond these floodgates. If you commit to that, I think you're going to get one of the major messages that you were concerned about repressing, that you didn't want to miss the message of the basal cell. And it's liable to be that repression, everything gets repressed. The immune system gets repressed. Repression is multidimensional. You repress anything, you repress everything. Your breath, your breathing, your immune system, your intestine, everything. And the immune system is needed for full operation to take care of errant cells. So my final recommendation was get thee to thy dermatologist and go on the months, the weeks, the years journey of the great work, which part of which is unveiling to yourself in a safe way any uncomfortable feelings you have and doing exactly what you did. You've got the full Olympic gold level of skill. You just did it. Let yourself feel what's ever in there. Easy to say, but you did it right there. And that could be one of the things that will change the nature of your health and life. So thank you so much, Mary. Our time is up for today, and every Thursday at 2 o'clock, I Wonder Doctor, dealing with the emotions, mind, and life. We're here to do that with you. Call in to 888-502-8886. And thank you all for being so much. It's such an honor and a privilege for me to be with you.